Okay, so I'm literally about an hour into creating this template, which I mentioned in my previous video blog. We're going back to Pro Tools, and we are creating a simplistic or more simple template, not using Vienna Ensemble. And while kind of doing this, I thought, let's do some Googling. It's like, come on, Avid. Surely you've got to be like catching on to the fact that people want folders in Pro Tools. And they're doing it. Folder tracks coming soon to Pro Tools in 2020. So this year, guys, and we finally have got folders in Pro Tools. I must admit, I don't know why it's taken them perhaps this long to do this, because people have been after this for a long time, especially myself. And I would say it's given things like Digital Performer, Logic Pro, and Cubase, for instance, the edge in terms of DAWs for many years. So yeah, this is coming, guys. I mean, a lot of us end up with sessions which look somewhat like this, and while you've kind of been working on that session for God knows how long, and you start to kind of understand where things are, it's not, the best way of being able to work, where you've just got hundreds and hundreds of tracks, like this bottom section I'm talking about, by the way. So this is obviously a screenshot they've given us where folders are in action, so you'd be able to literally just hide that entire folder. And you probably would end up with something looking a little bit like this. So this is, I'm gathering a large section, session, which has just been, everything's been, the folders have all been collapsed. So, we'd be able to just open up, for instance, this bass folder if we wanted to edit a bass, and everything else is kind of out of our mind. I think there's a lot to be said when you're talking about workflow, and when we're looking at large sessions. So that in mind, while that's coming this year, I don't know when they're going to do that. And for us still working in Pro Tools, I wanted to just give you guys an insight into what I do in my workflow when it comes to dealing with a hell of a lot of tracks. So like I said, this session for me is supposed to be, or this template, this 2020 template is supposed to be about minimalizing the amount of stuff I have. I've got so many sample libraries now that it just doesn't make sense to have them all loaded, which I previously did have in VE Pro. Now, as things move on, if I end up scoring some huge great film, maybe VE Pro will come back, and that will be kind of made and running for me, so that everything's like at hand. But I think the compositions I'm going to be doing this year, and especially the short film that I'm currently working on, it doesn't need that large template that I used to use, which it was becoming problematic for me, really, in terms of the technology was a barrier. Let's put it that way. That's by no way to say that VE Pro is a bad bit of software. It is not. It is amazing, and it got me out of a lot of stuck in the past when my computers were getting a little bit old. So, I'm just wanting to simplify things at the moment and work more literally just within Pro Tools. Anyway, I'm rambling. What we can do, let's say here, for instance, where I've got Solo Instruments 1, which I use Contact on, and I've got Solo Instruments 2, which has got an instance of East West Play on. So I've kind of told myself, well, I'm not going to want to use any more than 6 soloists within Contact, and I'm not going to use any more than 6 soloists within Play. Soloist for me, by the way, just so you know, would be literally a soloist. So if you picture it as a featured, say you've got a track that you heavily feature a solo virtuoso cello or a solo virtuoso guitarist, they for me would sit in my soloist section. And I even have, in terms of the mixer, I actually have got, let me get me out of the way, I've actually got a soloist sort of stem, which I could mix independently from everything else. So it gives me that foreground sound basically within the composition. So let's just say, for instance, I had chosen to only use Play in this instance, so I didn't care about using Contact. Well, one thing you can do is literally just untick from this top track section all of the Play tracks, which is long-winded. The other thing you can do is just literally focus in using the groups. So if you see here, the group section at the bottom, I've got soloists, and I've got soloist Contact and soloists Play. Now, if you hold down Control and you click on soloist Contact, for instance, it's only going to show me the Contact instruments. If I press Control and I hold down Play, it's only going to show me the Play instruments and its kind of relative tracks. Then we can choose soloist itself, which would show me all of the tracks, and we can hit all, which would show me everything. So I've only created groups for soloists all, soloist contact and soloist play. You can also say you've got all instruments open. Nothing stops you. Let's say that using the example that I was only using the play, you could right click on this contact group, and you could say hide tracks in group, and that will literally take them out of the session. So it's not folders. It's, you know, it's kind of clumpy, but it's how I worked it's how I've been working for a long time, and I've never really sort of shown that to people, you know, that you can do that. So how did I do that? Well, if you choose this, so let's say in this circumstance, I knew that this is my instrument with play. Let's just actually show the instrument. There you go. So, and maybe I should show you the mapping as well, just so you can see what's going on. It's incorrect. I need to just assign this so that it's talking to contact. Perfect. Okay, so these 7 tracks here. So you've got your instrument track at the top, then you've got 6 MIDI instruments. So that feeds into MIDI port 1 to MIDI channel 1, MIDI channel 2, MIDI channel 3, etc. So all you've basically got to do is click your solo 6, hold shift, click your solo instruments 1 to make your selection of the 6 tracks, and then we just go Command and G, which brings up this menu. And then all you're basically doing is it's showing you what's currently in your group. So we've got the instrument track and the 6 corresponding MIDI tracks. You give it a name. So let's just call this solo temp because I'll be deleting it. Hit OK. And there you go. You've got solo temp down the bottom there. So like I say, if I hold control now and click solo temp, it's just going to show me those tracks that I've made. So as you can imagine, as you're kind of going on into the session, you know, and you're building more and more stuff, it helps you in terms of you being able to just look at specific specific sections in your track. You know, if you've got 200 tracks loaded or whatever, you know, or even like 70, you might just want to quickly get into, I want my contact instruments. Okay, there they are. I want my play instruments. There they are. I believe as well you can hold down. Say we've got say we're just looking at contact play. If you also hit Control and press Shift, and you click the contact ones as well, yeah, it brings you both. So that means that as you move forward in the session, nothing stops you. Say you wanted to look at your percussion alongside your strings. Let's just pretend that was percussion play. So you'd hold Control, click percussion play, and then if you held Shift, and let's pretend that was strings contact, press that as well. It would show you both your percussion from play and your strings from contact. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a really quick look into that. And of course, if we hold Control and we click all, everything comes back. So this template is growing. You know, at the moment we're up to 28 tracks. Then there's going to be brass, winds, percussion, choirs, and synth. So we're probably going to end up there, not to mention kind of sub buses and mixes at the end, and all my kind of stems. So we're going to end up probably up there about 130 tracks. But that's how I'm kind of dealing with folders until they bring in this folders option in 2020 this year, which I'm really, really looking forward to. So let me know if that's useful, guys, and let me know your workflows as well. A lot of us working, well, using this software in general, this can apply to any kind of application, but I reckon anyone who's working specifically in the film field, from post-production, Foley, everything in that field is going to have a hell of a lot of tracks in their sessions. So okay, guys, great success. I look forward to Pro Tools bringing that in later this year, and I'll probably do a follow-up video once they do that. Wicked. See you in the next video. Bye bye.